Welcome back to the show, you guys. Welcome back to the LAPD Board of Police Commissioners meeting. Well, ought to be good. I've got a statement written out. Hey, Peter. First and best. Dun da da da. Peter Anderson. Ought to be an interesting meeting, to say the least. Hey, Ganja Girl. Hey, Minnie. We are waiting for the meeting to start. I've got it all set up. So as soon as they do, I'll raise my hand. Yeah, I don't have streams set up. Hey, Irish. Woohoo, Serge and Michael are there with audit. DOA on the way. Yep, Streets is going. It's gonna be interesting, let's just say that. It is all going to be good because it is in God's hands. Mini, mini, bo, binny, fee, fi, fo, finny. Me, my, mo, mini, mini. It's all good. Izzy, let me go there. We got, let's see. Audits live. Let me go to audits live.
Okay. Well, I think there's going to be a hard time getting in. I don't think everyone's going to be speaking today. It's going to be a packed house. We have more.
Yep,
We have more people.
I'm.
Hi. Good. How you doing? Are you already live? Yes. Yes, I am. I get on early because.
Here, do you guys want to watch audit while we're
Morning,
waiting?
Jenna. Hi. Nice to see you again. I know we met before. Yeah, at I can't think of it. La Poubelle.
I know.
I think
that was so
long ago. Yeah.
well. Also, I know you're on.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Joe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too. Or Joanne. Like Joe. I go by Joe for short. Okay, guys. Is everyone calling in?
I'm gonna mute her. If you guys, I'm going to mute her. We're gonna let the pictures. Is this the AA meeting? Oh, I just saw that comment on Audit's page. I'm already watching Audit LA too. Oh, you guys, this is not going to be good. I got a tummy ache. I need a freaking drink, man. And I don't even drink. I need a whiskey. That's what I was so upset about this morning, you guys. DOA spoke from the heart the last time, and then he got swatted. And that was just bullshit that he got swatted. That was total retaliation. Total retaliation. And I'm glad he's there for that. I'm glad Serge and Michael are there. You'll see, Peter. You'll see. You'll see. I'm still can't divulge anything. Hello, Haggis. It's a holy flock day. My little Haggis sunshine. Oh, he's got court today too? Hmm. It might be worth your TV time to put her on. It will. I think so too. Having Michael there is always making it more calm. Hey, Whiskey. Whiskey Moon. Peter, I'm trying to find your email. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, darling? Where'd you go? Yeah, he did, and I am so proud of him for that. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is kind of important. Peter, I just sent you a message. Okay, Amy, we'll chat in a little bit. I don't know that if any of us are really going to get picked today, but we'll try. Yeah, I doubt if I'm going to be called either. But I have something printed out and ready. Oh, very nice. That's way cool, Minnie. What an excellent progression you've had. Good job. That's okay, Ganja. Aaron will be there? Mm-hmm. Wise call, Ganja. Wise call. And there's going to be so many people there, it probably will not behoove us to be online anyways. But I mean, I'm going to raise my hand just in case. Kind of don't even want to be involved with it, but I have other missions. I blah 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 blah. Exactly right, Mandy Me. That's what will happen. They will probably skip a bunch of Zoom callers again for the speakers in the room to make sure everybody gets heard. Yes, that is normally what happens. Oh, thanks, Mandy Me. I'm hoping not today, but I do have things to say. I just don't want to be. I'm torn. Hey, Lorelai. That's way cool. Oh, audit falling out of her chair or what? I always like to stream these so that way audit can use it later. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad for that. That's that's what's necessary. And I'm going to use that thought process today too. That is for the views. Hey Brian, not necessarily for for a clown show though. I don't want it to be a clown show. I want it to be serious, and I want it to be kept serious. Yeah, I try to because I take it right off from their speakers. Hey Tiff, good morning. Good afternoon. Yeah, it is. And where do I have? Let me see. I'm going to switch back over here. I'm going to take it off from audits and put it on properties. Zoom. We're going to, hey, Irish. You can, Nisa, but good luck getting in today. Crap. Oh, let me find it. Let me find it.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, I don't have audits up or anything, so I can't tell what's happening. Somebody's yelling about the Brown Act. Oh, great. Is Batman there? I don't see him. Thanks, Tiff. I hope so too.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chief McDonald, Mr. Sibley, Madam Secretary, Acting Inspector General Florence Yu, Mr. City Attorney Carlos De La Guerra, and members of the public. Today is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. It is 9:30 a.m. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Please let the record reflect that Commissioners Suthers, Shields, Kalanche, Garcia, and Sanchez Gordon are present, and we have a quorum. Mr. President?
Thank you. We welcome everyone attending this morning. The Police Commission is committed to ensuring equal access to its meetings. It's requested that individuals who require the services of a translator contact the board secretary no later than the day preceding the meeting. Whenever possible, a translator will be provided. Sign language interpreters, assistive listening devices, or other auxiliary aids and/or services may be provided upon request. To ensure availability, you are advised to make your request at least 72 hours prior to the meeting you wish to attend. All public comment will be heard on item number 2 on the agenda. We'll dedicate a total of 45 minutes to public comment. Members of the public will have 1 minute per agenda item for a maximum of 2 minutes total. At the request of the speaker will then be given 1 additional minute for general public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes total. The order of the speakers will be: a speaker in this room will go first, then we will take a speaker watching today's meeting on Zoom. We will alternate between speakers in the room and Zoom for a total of 45 minutes. Members of the public who participate in public comment are reminded that they can speak to any item on the agenda or a matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board, so you're free to express your opinion on matters before the board and to generally express when you disagree with other opinions expressed. However, directing your comments to other individuals who have spoken or attacking others who have expressed their opinions shall be deemed off topic, and your public comment period will be concluded. Members of the public, if you choose to participate in the public comment portion of the agenda, you can participate in this meeting in a number of ways outlined on the agenda. Message for those attending the meeting in person. These meetings are regular meetings between the board, the department, and key stakeholders. Meetings of the Board of Police Commissioners are open to the public. The state's Ralph M. Brown Act affords the public their opportunity to present at the meetings, hear the presentations and dialogue in real time, and provide feedback via the public comment period. During these meetings, there's a need for the board to carry out public business expeditiously without delays or disruptions. Members of the audience shall not engage in any conduct which causes an actual disruption of the meeting. Those attending in person are reminded that disruptive behavior will be cause for removal. If you disrupt this meeting, you will be provided with one and only one warning to cease disruptive behavior. If you fail to cease such behavior, you will be removed from the meeting. All attendees must be seated. Failure to follow this rule will result in a warning and/or removal from the meeting. Before we move to the agenda items, I'd like to address a recent news story about the department's recruitment division. I believe that I can speak for all members of the Police Commission when I say that the behavior alleged is unacceptable. The Los Angeles Police Department prides itself on its high recruitment standards and its merit-based selection process. To hear, even in allegations, that this may not be the case is concerning, and I'd like to assure the public that the department is conducting a full investigation. The Office of the Inspector General is monitoring this investigation, and they have from the onset of those allegations. And I thank them in advance for their continued attention to this matter. The other item I'd like to mention is we're going to be moving regular agenda item 4C, a department's report, to a later date when the speaker is available to address the board. With that, we will move to item number 1, the report of the Chief of Police. Chief McDonald.
Morning, President Suthers, Vice President Shields, Commissioners, Acting Inspector General Yu, City Attorney De La Guerra, and Mr. Sibley. Today, I'll be discussing significant events from the previous 2 weeks, providing a crime update, and discussing our personnel strength. During the previous 2 weeks, we had 2 officer-involved shootings. The first involves Metropolitan Division. On February 11th, at approximately 9:55, Harbor Division uniformed officers responded to a radio call of a 415 man with a gun at Western Avenue and Lomita Boulevard. When the officers arrived in the area, they observed the suspect, later identified as Samuel Condi, armed with a revolver and walking east on 254th Street from Bellport Avenue. That's in the Harbor City area. As they attempted to contact Condi, he began to run, and the officers initiated a foot pursuit. Condi ultimately ran to the rear of the residence at 25718 Bellport Avenue, which was overgrown with foliage and littered with large mounds of debris. Metropolitan Division K-9 personnel responded, searched the yard, determined that Condi was hiding inside a metal storage shed. Condi was given multiple commands to surrender, however, he refused. The officers requested the resources of Metropolitan Division Special Weapon and Tactics, who responded and began negotiating with Condi to surrender. Approximately 1 hour later, Condi was observed in the yard holding a revolver while walking in the direction of officers, and an officer-involved shooting occurred. Despite being struck by gunfire, Condi refused to surrender, prompting the use of a beanbag shotgun, a taser, and a directed canine bite. He was subsequently taken into custody without further incident. Los Angeles Fire Department personnel who were staged at the scene immediately rendered aid to Condi. He was then transported by rescue ambulance to a local hospital where he was treated for his wounds and cleared for booking. No officers or other community members were injured during the incident. Condi's handgun has not been located. However, a discharged 38 caliber cartridge casing was recovered in the yard near where he was taken into custody. Force Investigation Division investigators responded to the scene and continue to investigate this incident. The second OIS was in Wilshire Division. On February 19th, Wilshire Area Uniformed Gang Enforcement Detail officers were assisting with a burglary task force when they became involved in a vehicle pursuit of a possible burglary suspect. During the pursuit, the suspect, who was later identified as Quentin Monk, drove to the area of Oakwood Avenue and June Street, entering a cul-de-sac. Monk turned the vehicle around and accelerated toward officers, resulting in an officer-involved shooting. Monk refused to stop and continued to flee in his vehicle as a pursuit continued, terminating at the intersection of Beverly Boulevard and Wilton Avenue when he collided with an occupied vehicle. After the collision, Monk attempted to escape on foot, but was quickly taken into custody. Monk was not struck during the OAS, and no officers were injured during the incident. However, the driver of the vehicle involved in the collision was transported to a local hospital and treated for minor injuries. Force Investigation Division investigators responded to the scene and are investigating this incident as well. Year to date, we've had 5 officer-involved shootings, the same number as this time last year. We had a pursuit that ended in a traffic collision on February 16th, about 23:50 hours. Central Patrol officers responded to the area of 1100 East 5th Street following two recent radio calls, one of which reported three armed men wearing ski masks at a private party club event. While on scene, a security guard from the event pointed out a gray Mercedes and shouted, "They have a gun." Officers tactically approached the vehicle, which was occupied by two males. As officers attempted to order them out of the vehicle, the suspects ignored commands and fled at a high rate of speed. A vehicle pursuit was initiated at 5th and Alameda. As suspects entered the Santa Monica Freeway, officers lost visual contact, but the air unit located the vehicle as it exited at Los Angeles Street. While exiting, the suspect vehicle ran a red light and collided with two uninvolved motorists. All individuals remained in their vehicles until officers arrived. The passenger in the vehicle, passenger in the suspect vehicle and the driver of one of the uninvolved vehicles sustained fractures and were transported to a local hospital for treatment. The driver of the suspect vehicle, identified as a juvenile, complained of pain but had no significant injuries. The driver and passenger of the third vehicle were not injured. The juvenile suspect was booked for felony evading, and due to the seriousness of the injuries sustained, the multidisciplinary investigation team responded to the scene and is handling the investigation. On February 22nd, at approximately 2010 hours, Central Area Uniform Patrol officers were in the vicinity of Grand Avenue and Washington Boulevard when they observed a motorcyclist believed to be part of a larger group seen in the area earlier. Officers attempted to conduct a traffic stop, but the motorcyclist failed to yield and subsequently crashed into a streetlight. Officers immediately stopped, took the subject into custody, and rendered aid. The motorcyclist, a 16-year-old male, was transported to the hospital where he was treated for multiple fractures, an intracranial hemorrhage, and a lacerated aorta. He was cited for reckless driving. The multidisciplinary collision investigation team responded to the scene and is handling the traffic collision investigation. On February 21st, at approximately 3:10 in the morning, West Valley officers observed two masked burglary suspects exiting a closed California restaurant carrying a crowbar and a hammer. A third suspect, a female, was waiting in a parked white Mercedes-Benz. As officers attempted to investigate, the suspects fled, leading to a 7-minute pursuit on freeways and surface streets. During the pursuit, the suspects slowed near the 101 freeway on-ramp. The primary unit maneuvered to avoid a collision, but struck a curb and a light pole. The secondary unit then collided with the primary unit, resulting in one officer sustaining minor injuries. The officer was treated and released from a local hospital. Valley Traffic Division has handled the collision investigation. The suspect later crashed in the Tarzana Hospital parking lot, where all suspects fled on foot. Officers impounded the Mercedes and recovered burglary tools and other evidence. Further investigation by Van Nuys detectives linked the vehicle to the female driver, who was later arrested for burglary and evading police. Detectives are working to identify the remaining suspects. Over the past week, we've seen a concerning rise in burglary incidents across the San Fernando Valley, particularly in Devonshire, Van Nuys, and West Valley areas. These crimes have targeted both businesses and residents, with suspects acting in coordinated efforts to gain entry, steal property, and evade law enforcement. On February 16th and 17th, 3 residential burglaries were reported in West Valley, all involving a silver BMW 3 Series. Surveillance footage recovered from each location helped link these incidents, and during the investigation, officers recovered a lighter dropped by one of the suspects, which has been submitted for DNA analysis. The suspect vehicle was later found and impounded in the city of Palmdale, where detectives recovered gloves and expired identification cards belonging to burglary victims. Efforts to identify the suspects are ongoing, with assistance from multiple divisions and investigative resources. In Devonshire, during the early mornings of February 17th, 3 businesses, a Taco Bell, Yonder Coffee, and Jamba Juice, were burglarized in quick succession. In each case, suspects shattered the front glass doors to gain entry, ransacked the locations, and fled. CCTV footage suggests these burglaries were committed by the same group, who used a blue Hyundai sedan during at least one of the crimes. As of now, no investigative lead has been established to identify the suspects, but a crime alert is pending. In Van Nuys, officers responded to an attempted residential burglary at 8:30 a.m. on February 17th. A group of 5 suspects arrived in a 2006 silver BMW with 4 individuals entering the victim's property via the backyard. Thanks to an alert neighbor who contacted police, suspects fled before gaining entry. The vehicle, later identified as having an active felony warrant from West LA, was impounded by the LA County Sheriff's Department, but the suspects remain at large. These incidents highlight a troubling trend of organized burglary crews operating in the valley. The department is using every available tool to identify and apprehend those responsible. We're coordinating efforts across multiple divisions and agencies, ensuring information is shared efficiently. As captured on news yesterday on February 22nd at about 4:30 in the afternoon, a group of bicyclists attacked a driver near San Vicente and Carrillo Drive. The incident began as a verbal dispute and escalated when some suspects vandalized the victim's vehicle, prompting him to get out of the car. The group then physically assaulted him, punching and kicking him even after he fell to the ground. Wilshire detectives are actively investigating. The video evidence confirms that the suspects damaged the vehicle and assaulted the victim. Detectives have identified witnesses, reviewed additional footage, and linked this group to a robbery at a Rampart area 7-Eleven on the same day. The same suspects also attempted to enter a 7-Eleven in West Los Angeles, but employees, recognizing the threat, locked the doors, activated the alarm, preventing another crime. A news release has been issued, and efforts to identify the suspects is ongoing, working with other divisions and law enforcement partners to compare video footage and explore investigative leads. Wilshire detectives will follow up with the victim and continue coordinating with specialized units on strategies to address large groups of disruptive bicyclists. Over the past 4 weeks, overall crime trends in Los Angeles have shown a slight decline, with combined persons and property crimes down just under 1% compared to the previous period. Persons crimes have decreased by 3.8%, while property crimes remain stable. While homicides remain down 22.2% year-to-date compared to 2024, we have seen an increase in the past month, with homicides rising by 92.3%, or 12 more homicides compared to the prior 4 weeks. Additionally, the number of shooting victims has increased by 37.7%, or 26 more shooting victims in the past month, with notable spikes in Southeast, Topanga, and Southwest areas. On a positive note, aggravated assaults have decreased 3.5%, or 38 crimes over the past 4 weeks. We're continuing to monitor this activity. However, no trend or pattern has been associated with the increase. Robberies are down 4.6% over the last month. Burglaries have increased by 18.6% over the last month. Several divisions, including Devonshire, Olympic, Van Nuys, Pacific, Northeast, and Topanga, have experienced notable increases. Residential burglaries have risen sharply by almost 34%, with significant spikes in Olympic, Pacific, Devonshire, and Topanga areas. Non-residential burglaries have increased by 4.6%, with Devonshire and West LA seeing the largest jumps. Several burglary crews have been identified as possibly being involved. Our detectives are working to apprehend those suspects responsible, and we continue to deploy additional resources to troubled areas. Vehicle thefts remain relatively stable, down 0.5%, or 9 incidents over the last 4 weeks. And then on our update on our personnel strength as of February 24th, sworn personnel is currently holding at 8778. Civilian personnel staffing is at 2664, and reserve officers are at 379. That completes my report this morning, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chief. Just one question. I'd like to go to the personnel that are deployed for the fires regarding access to their homes, escorts to their homes, traffic control. What percentage or what number of people do we have still doing that? And is it still 12 on, 12 off in deployment?
Yeah, we have still a contingent out there, and it varies. We have, I believe it's 2 and 20 a day, but I'll get you the exact numbers. The CHP are still deployed in the Palisades area, assisting with crime suppression efforts, and the National Guard are still on scene as well. So we've been able to retain those assets for an extended period of time, and they have been very, very helpful. We have also been able to, I think, deter people from coming into that area and, doing what otherwise might be burglaries or looting events.
And Chief, going back to your comments about the February 22nd attack at San Vicente and Carrillo, these bicycle crews have been extremely problematic over the last year. We had a presentation by the task force here several months ago. What's being done to address that? I do know that in some instances, they obviously are becoming a little bit more aggressive. They're taunting people out of their cars. When they get out of their cars, unfortunately, they've done to this gentleman,
Right.
to others. What actions are we taking, and does this seem to be organized in any way?
Yeah, it does seem to be organized. The actions we're taking is an investigative follow-up using a video to try and identify the individuals as best we can. As I mentioned, that they had shown up at 2 other 7-Elevens. There'll be video most likely at those locations. Some of these are masked up as they do this, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But they're trying to put this together, identify these individuals, and hold them accountable. When you have serial events like this, it's a relatively, in this case, 20 to 30, not small, but the same people doing this over and over again. So as we get investigative leads, I think with some arrests, we can have a major impact on seeing the reoccurrence of this.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'll open up the floor for other questions or comments. Vice President Shields.
Thank you, President Southers, and thank you, Chief, for the report. I'll go back to the news report that President Southers mentioned at the outset. Obviously, the hearing about allegations that there were racist, sexist comments being made by officers, particularly those in the recruiting office, is very troubling, to say the least. And not only is it troubling that officers are making these types of statements, but also that they're making them so openly, which tells me, it indicates either that everyone thought that this was acceptable behavior, or that they thought that nothing would happen to them if they got caught, which is, again, troubling in terms of how seriously is the department taking these types of allegations. And how seriously does the department take allegations of improper remarks being made? And I know we've had people come to the commission and complain that certain things that they've been called, like black fool, was seen as non-disciplinary. I think both the Inspector General's office and I personally, and potentially other commissioners, feel like that's not the appropriate result. So how is it that, and I understand that individual discipline is outside the purview of the commission. That's not something that LA City Charter gives us any authority over. But I'd ask the executive director, Django, to work with the department to give us as commissioners more visibility into the types of discipline that is being meted out for these types of improper comments, and also other things of concern that we've talked about before, like DUIs. I think it's important for the commission to see more regularly what that looks like. And so, Chief, to you, and I understand there's an ongoing investigation and can't get into any of those details, but can you talk generally about, what steps you've taken in terms of dealing with the people who are involved, ensuring that the whistleblower is not retaliated against, and also, given that this was done in the recruiting office, whether there's any steps to look at people who may have been rejected based on animus or any other, improper motivation.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate the concern and the support that we've gotten from the commission. Working with the IG right from the beginning, as soon as we became aware of this, we put together a team to look at it, internal affairs. And we have relieved and assigned to home those that are involved as we could determine. The investigation is still ongoing. It led to a further individual being identified, and then later a command staff officer on an unrelated directly to this case, but not dissimilar allegation. So we move forward. We take it very seriously. I think that you'll see as the investigation proceeds, we'll be able to keep you up to speed a little bit more on what we found and what actions will be taken. But of great concern to all of you and certainly to all of us that where recruiting is such a critical piece of our ability to be able to move forward, that it be done as well as it possibly can be and beyond reproach. And so the people who work in those areas are held to a very high standard. This was very disappointing to everybody. But we took immediate action, brought in or worked with the Inspector General. And as we continue to move forward with this, people who will be held appropriately accountable for their behavior.
And is the department taking any steps to make sure that the person who kind of disclosed this information is not being penalized in any way?
Yeah, it was an anonymous complaint, but certainly if identification is made, that's a consideration we'll take seriously as well. Sure.
Thank you, Vice President Shields. Commissioner Kalanche.
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
None, thank you.
And Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
I have a question. Thank you, Chief, for your report. Could you just elaborate a little bit more on those 12 new homicides, 90% plus increase since the last time, since a similar time period? What areas were these homicides in?
Yeah, I got a brief yesterday, and I'd have to get back to you on the specifics of that without going through all the books here. I'm happy to do that. But there were a couple of multiples around the city, and I can get to you on the areas, but that certainly impacted the numbers. Multiples meaning that the same suspect is involved in those crimes. Yeah, if I could, I'll get back to you offline on those numbers.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Thank you. We now go to agenda item number 2, public comment. Madam Secretary, please call our first speaker.
Our first speaker is Jenna. My name is Jenna Miscavige. My uncle David Miscavige is a leader of Scientology. I was born and raised in Scientology, and just before my 2nd birthday, my parents moved our family right here to Los Angeles to join Scientology's most dedicated group, where they signed 1 billion-year contracts, dedicating all of our souls, lifetime after lifetime, to Scientology. Joining this group meant I would never live in a home with my parents for the entirety of my childhood. It also meant being deprived of an education and being worked for long hours each day, digging trenches, hauling rocks, and being exposed to dangerous chemicals and handling asbestos, all before the age of 12 years old. It meant being shipped across the country from my family at 12 years old and not seeing my parents but for a few moments for the remainder of my childhood. It meant being forbidden to call them and physically restrained from doing so, while having no way of communicating with them that wasn't monitored and intercepted by Scientology. It meant years of soul-destroying interrogations while being in a room I could not leave, being asked questions of a sexual nature day after day for years while being videotaped. Today, I am a mother of 2 beautiful children, and only now can I fully understand what this government-sanctioned, tax-exempt organization really takes away from the children who grow up there, and the devastating lifelong damage it does to those who have no way of protecting themselves. And they do this through controlling their parents. The document you're about to hear is in LAPD's possession via a computer hard drive that was obtained as part of the Danny Masterson case. The hard drive was imaged, metadata secured, it's been forensically authenticated by LAPD, and lays bare Scientology's corruption, how they put the organization's interests above the safety and basic human rights of its parishioners. The ones who suffer the most are Scientology's children. The ones who suffer the most are the children of Scientology's parishioners and staff because they cannot protect themselves and they don't know any different. I was one of those children, and there are so many others. I'm here today to make sure their voices are heard. This letter was copied to Scientology's Legal Affairs Office, Scientology's Chief Ethics Officer, as well as to the chaplain and the file of the alleged predator. Where was the mandatory reporting to the proper authorities?
Thank you.
Next, we have Betty Lay.
Good morning.
Good morning. What items would you like to speak on?
Chief's report, agenda items, public comment, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
First off, I'd like to thank the chief for his report. And I'd also like for you to look into having the neighborhood prosecutor program brought back. I know our city attorney met with our group and said she would not be eliminating the program, though she lied, and within the next couple of weeks it was gone. It's a wonderful program. It has proven to increase vulnerability and promise and good results. We just really need it back. Also, for agenda items, I support the donation items, and I support agenda items L and M. And with that, I hope everybody stays healthy and safe, and I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, next we have Serge Delmar.
So this is the follow-up letter of what Jenna just mentioned. I was a child that was trafficked into a Scientology hotel as well. And exactly like Jenna said, we were horrifically abused. This is what's in LAPD's possession. A letter that says, from a Scientology mother, Greg, Bill and I, to say the least, are disappointed and disgusted with your perverted sexual addiction. On a personal level, you put us at risk by using our home computers to go to child porn sites. The internet is monitored activity, and you know, as many lawsuits that we consult, testify in, and all the subpoenas we get at any time, our computers could have ended up in some courtroom. Child pornography is a federal offense. As a law student, you knew. You lived with us at our expense and violated practically every room in our home. You are in treason to Bill and I. Not only did you masturbate all over my house, but you also had to violate our offices, the same company that paid $33,000 for you to go to law school. As if that wasn't bad enough, you took it a step further and used our clients' computers and printers to masturbate to, and then the Commonwealth Title Company's employees caught you and confronted you. And you continued anyways. Let us not even talk to you about the lawyer's Ventura. Just another incident. The whole title industry knows that we are Scientologists, and you have done a lot to damage our good opinion they had of us. What you did in regards to my daughter, she's totally capable of handling by herself. What is unspeakable is your action in regards to my 7-year-old family member. Let me be specific about that for the other parties who have been CC'd. When you were at the beach with her class, all of a sudden you had to pee, and you as an adult male with no medical problems could not wait to go next door to the restaurant, and you had to wait until everyone in her class had left and take her into a portable toilet because it was such an emergency, and you were so concerned for her safety. You told her to close her eyes and she peeked. She yelled at her when she tried to handle her upset over what she saw. We asked her, what did you hear him pee? She said, I don't remember him pee. I don't know if he peed or just squeezed it. She has more to tell us. I'm sure she will. If I ever catch you even looking at her, I will call the cops. Do not let me see you with any other child. I will go to the parents and tell them all about you. This is a promise. This is a Scientology mother. This is what she knows. The LAPD is not protecting or serving the kids that have grown up in Scientology. You have this document and you've done nothing.
Thank you.
Next, we have R.
Art?
I will speak to all items.
Okay, 2 minutes.
All right, starting off with the chief's report. The chief's report should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes at every meeting. If the chief's report exceeds 3 minutes, we should match the amount of time the chief takes, regardless of how long the chief takes to provide his comment. All speakers should be able to hear or be able to speak regardless of whether you were called in or whether you were in person. And if you don't like the person who signed up for comment, you should still take their comment instead of filtering them out and screening the calls. All right. And, and of course we have the whole scandal you were talking about. And, Rasha mentioned about the whole, they probably did it because they didn't think anyone happened. That's because it's true. You're not going to do anything. Everyone knows that. And, it really, I think there's some kind of really extreme culture going on here or something. Because, this is how the LAPD treats, individuals who are trying to become one of you, who are trying to become cops. How do they talk about just random citizens and such? That's kind of interesting. The interesting question there. And of course the LAPD continues to do the violent, car chases that get other people injured. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. We have something related to like firing ranges or something. Is this where they train to shoot civilians or something? We have like a VR thing. It's really weird. We have an automated license plate reader. Is that going to be used to send data to ICE for their mass deportations that are targeting undocumented immigrants and causing harm to them? We have $14,000 for the police memorial ceremony. Only that money was spent to remembering all the people shot by the LAPD. We have, let's see, we have a canopy for the bomb squad. Is that where they do their press conferences before they blow up the neighborhood? We have a video wall screen repair. We have $21,000 for morale and well-being. Again, nothing buys morale and well-being like $21,000 for one division. We have $2,500 for the hosting fund, $900 for storage. This is just a ridiculous thing. But yeah, just a big mess. Yeah.
Okay, next we have Aaron Smith.
All Scientology wants is to be treated just like all the world's major religions. And even though there's only about 25,000 Scientologists in the entire world, I think they should get exactly what they want. In a letter dated May 2nd, 2019, the then California Attorney General wrote to the Archbishop of the Catholic Archdiocese of LA requesting that church officials preserve documents related to clergy abuse allegations. Quote, the California DOJ is conducting a review of your archdiocese's handling of sexual misconduct allegations involving children, including whether your archdiocese has adequately reported allegations of sexual misconduct as required under California's Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act. California's Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act, or CANRA, was signed into law in 1981. In 1997, CANRA was updated to include all clergy members as mandatory reporters. It is not a coincidence that in 1997, Scientology issued an order to its senior staff that all internal ethics reports detailing crimes committed by Scientologists were to have any incriminating words, such as rape or child sex abuse, removed from the report and replaced with certain codes before such reports were sent up to management. This is according to former high-ranking Sea Org member Claire Headley, who testified under oath as an expert witness in Scientology at the Danny Masterson rape trial just over 1 year ago. When the DDA asked Claire Headley under oath, quote, "If a person were to report another member for a crime such as rape, is there any policy or direction that ethics officer would take in writing that report?" And Claire Headley answered, "Yes. In 1997, an order was issued where terms of a sensitive nature, such as rape and sexual assault, were no longer to be written in reports because copies of those reports go to RTC and OSA, which are two senior high-level Scientology organizations. And they would use a code to remove those terms from the reports. Scientology's most dedicated clergy members are called Sea Org members. These are the individuals who signed the billion-year contracts in service to Scientology. Under CANRA, all Scientology Sea Org members, as clergy members, are mandated reporters for child abuse, including child sex abuse. Reports must be made immediately or as soon as practically possible, and to the civil authorities, not just to the internal Scientology authorities. I can tell you from personal experience of having been a Scientologist and a Sea Org member, it is 100% directly against Scientology policy to ever report another Scientologist to the civil authorities at any time for any reason, including child rape. Reporting another Scientologist to the civil authorities gets you expelled from Scientology. Raping doesn't get you expelled. Reporting it does get you expelled. CANRA is the law of the land. This is the standard we are asking Scientology to be held to. It is the standard all the religions are held to. We ask that a grand jury be impaneled in LA to investigate cover-up of child sex crimes within Scientology. We have copies of transcripts of our statements and some supplemental information for anybody who would like a copy.
Thank you.
Next, we have Steve Riley.
Good morning.
Good morning. What items would you like to speak on?
All items, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Becky, Police Commission staff, for helping with a situation last week where letters were submitted to be posted on the lapdonline.org site, and they were not posted. So she helped to resolve the situation in a positive way. She was very professional and very helpful. So thank you. We talked about recruitment today, and I want to point out that the last class had only 25 recruits graduate. The goal is 60. Now, if you look at the demographic breakdown from the website, lapdonline.org, the breakdown of the 25 is 18 Hispanic, 4 African Americans, 2 Asians, and 1 Hawaiian. I'm using your terminology. I don't use that terminology. And if you go on to the letter that I posted for today, you'll see more detail on my thoughts on this subject. But there is conspicuously a group missing. And I don't believe in grouping people by race, just for the record. But I do not see any recruit graduate of what I would call European descent. Now, why is that? Is there a whole population pool that is not interested in becoming police officers? Or is this an issue of discrimination, of a certain population pool not feeling welcome in the LAPD? I think that needs to be examined. There needs to be an investigation as to why. This is not the only time this has occurred. I brought this up when Interim Chief Choi presided over the first graduation class he presided over. So what is going on at the LAPD in terms of recruitment? Now, whatever happened with those, there's been allegations of racial remarks or such. I really would like to know details at some point, and I guess we will get them eventually. But everyone has to be one color in the LAPD, blue, and we need to have a culture of one standard. I've heard different remarks, and whatever the subject is, recruitment, hiring, promotion, enforcement of the law as regards certain religions, there must be one standard, a culture of one standard. And I will leave you with that, a culture of one standard. And by the way, police commissioners, ask questions. There are 2 police commissioners didn't have any questions at all. You have to care, you have to be competent. If you're not, resign your position. God bless you, LAPD, and thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Michael.
Members of the Police Commission, thank you for letting me speak today. What we just heard in the letter that was just read out to you is not an allegation. It is not an omission. It's a mother in Scientology who is admitted to crimes against children in that letter. I invite each and every single one of you to take a moment today, get a copy of this letter, and read through it. This is damning evidence that has been in the hands of the LAPD. How many mandated reporters does it take to ensure not a single report is filed? The law is clear. Scientology, along with the LAPD, is legally bound to report such abuse under the 1997 Child Protection Act and now reinforced by the Assembly Bill 506. Institutions like Scientology are mandated to report child abuse. Where are the reports? I ask you once again, take time and read this letter today. AB 506 requires that during auditing sessions of any religious counseling involving a minor, that at least 2 mandated reporters are present. Professionals are legally obligated to report abuse, must be present in all personnel. Rigorous live scanning background checks are supposed to be happening with these mandated reporters. Where are those? Yet, despite these safeguards, credible evidence of these abuses have systemically neglected at the LAPD. I ask you, how many more children must suffer due to this gross failure of mandated reporters, not only within religious organization, but also, as we know now from what has been revealed today, right within the LAPD itself? Why are we mandated reporters not helping kids?
Thank you.
Next, we have Audit LA.
Good morning, Commission, Chief, miss you. This is my friend. I call him friend. I'm proud to call him friend. His name is Serge. He grew up in Scientology, and he telling me his story is the reason him, Laura too, but him. He's the reason I fight hard. This is why I come to every police commission meeting, almost every meeting there is. Okay, I come because of him. He's been crying for help and justice, and he's just one of hundreds who have been crying for help, for justice, and it's been falling on deaf ears. So I've been here screaming at the top of my lungs, not literally, but to get him and the others heard. There has to be something done. That's why I'm begging you to remove Janet Wieland and any Scientologist from CPAP, because the people who are doing this, who are protecting what happened to them, are advising LAPD on your CPAP, sir. And I believe that you are a reasonable man. You promised you'd listen, and I believe that. I'm trusting you in that. They have to be held accountable. We've all been attacked and fair gamed as well for speaking up. But it's to the point, whatever they want to plan to do to me, they can do to me. But I will never not help my friend Serge, because he's my friend at this point. And Jenna, her uncle runs. He's like the head of Scientology, and the bravery it takes for her to come here and tell her story to your face. You know, I'm in tears. I don't know her as well, but I thank you for what you said. And thank you for coming forward, because her doing that, she could have chosen to protect family name, whatever, over, you know, the children, but she hasn't. And I salute her for that. But this is my friend, Serge. He's my friend. I love this guy. I love, you know, his husband, Michael. These are my friends. These are the people I will be in the trenches with. I want you to remember his face. He's why I'm here. He represents every child that has ever been abused and every child that is still being abused, just by their mere practices of auditing. If you only understood, I know right now he's not able to really tell you, but sir, chief, I am begging you to, when he is able to please hear him out as to what auditing means. Because it's not like us with the police department, you know, where you audit and you see no, it's very different, and it's intrinsically abusive. And there's already laws to protect these children on the books. They just, like Michael was saying, they just need to be engaged and enforced. But I am begging you, do not forget my friend Serge and Jenna and you know, and everyone who is standing up for these kids. Please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have William Good.
Chief, I'm sorry. Can we get the letters? Okay. Sorry, Becky.
Good morning. So you guys are talking about improper remarks, right? I'm Black Fool that she was talking about. That officer referred to me as a Black Fool. I've sent 14 emails to this guy right here asking if that's appropriate, and if somebody does it to another Black man again, will that be considered misconduct? I have not heard from him yet. All of these people have been CC'd on those emails. So when you guys pretend like you actually care, you've been on those emails. Now we talk about improper remarks. I know my friend back here was at a community day event when one of your senior lead officers, the liaison to community, called him a murderer and then said he beats his wife. Lies. This cop lied on a community member, called him a murderer, said he beats his wife. That could get somebody hurt. That could get somebody killed. I confronted this guy at the parade the other day. I walked with him for about a half a mile, maybe a mile. And I confronted him. I said, is that appropriate? Because you want to know why? He sent me a reply letter back that said that it was non-disciplinary. Calling him a murderer, lying on him, is non-disciplinary. Calling him a wife beater is non-disciplinary. They're allowed to just lie like that, Shields? They're allowed to lie like that, Southers? And so when I asked him about it to his face, the only thing he could say is, good morning. Good morning. And when I asked him about being called a Black Fool, what did he say? Good morning. Good morning. So you guys talk about accountability, talk to that guy right there, because he's doing nothing. And that's why he was put on here, to do nothing. It is, Karen Bass is running for re-election, and she does not want the police union being pissed off at her. So he has come in, I've talked to the captain in Hollywood Division, and he has said specifically at a CPAB meeting, I have it on recording, that the disciplinary process is too hard on the cops, that it's unfair for the cops. That's what you said. I've had commanders come and tell me that. So when you hear that this man or that officers, that senior lead officers are calling somebody a murderer and calling somebody a wife beater and they do nothing about it, that's on you guys. That's on you guys. I'm talking about Scientology a little bit, right? And one time you guys actually investigated their crimes is when they investigated the Danny Masterson case. You had some detectives go and investigate. And what did the Church of Scientology do? Harass the shit out of the detectives. Broke their windows. And what did you guys do? What did you do? Did nothing. You guys do nothing. I'm going to say right now, you guys have a recruiting problem. The recruiting problem is your fault. It's the reflection that you guys are showing to the community, the disrespect you've shown the community, that's going to come back and haunt you. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Next, we have Twyla.
Good morning, Chief. So several points, I take some notes. Number one, I heard you mentioned about the recruitment scandal. This specific incident was, caught on social media, but I was wondering how many scandals are there were not published on the social media, so it will never get to your attention. Number two, I heard the President Southers ask about the bicycle gang and then attack on the whatever person, and then Commissioner President said it's a problem. It's a problem for 2 and 3 years. I disagree with our president because 2 years ago, President said it's a problem. 1 year ago, President said it's a problem. This year is a problem. Next year, he will continue to say it's a problem because if I believe something is a problem that is hurt public safety, the police commissioner will solve that problem already. If we have a sheriff, Texas style sheriff, if we have a Texas style police chief, I'm pretty sure those bike gangs will never come out again, will never attack again. They will learn the consequence of the law. But because of this is LA, and then again, I made the same assumption many times in the meeting. Number one, they will never get caught. Number two, when the event they got caught, they will be released very soon. What's that happen? It will encourage more looting, rioting, violent, whatever on the street. Number three, Chief, you talk about burglary. The other day, I watched the Texas Sheriff Wells. There's a press conference in the state, Texas. The reporter provoked him a question. He said, one of your residents just shot and then killed a burglar in the residence. Do you have any comments about that? Sheriff Wells said, well, I don't have much comments about that. When you are entering someone's house illegally, you should expect to get killed. You should expect to get shot. So that is the style of self-defense of the Texas Sheriff Wells in Manatee County, Florida. But in the city of LA, the reason why is everybody knows we are a coward. No, I mean, not we, I'm just saying me. I am a coward. I don't know how to fight. In the city of LA, everybody knows they can come to my apartment because we don't have a gun. Everybody can loot my house, burglar my house, knowing that I'm afraid to shoot. So what's that happen? Those burglary will continue to occur more often, and more often. And then President Southers said this is a problem. Wait, 1 year ago, next year, he will say the same thing. 2 years later, 3 years later, until the moment he retired, he will continue to say it's a problem.
Next, we have DOA.
Well, some people want to 86 the police. You know, they say that Scientology puts a lot of money into Northeast Division, Hollywood Division. Even ex-Scientology foundations, they put thousands of dollars into it. Last time I came here 2 weeks ago, I made a complaint about Officer Gomez at Northeast Division and how I was being charged with the swattings. I filed a complaint. They chased me down and I did a complaint. Guess what? 2 hours fucking later, guess what happened? 2 hours later, I was in fucking handcuffs. See that mark right there? Some motherfuckers laughed about it. Some bitch motherfuckers laughed about that. They think that that's funny. Because I'm standing up for the kids of Scientology, the ex-Scientologist community, the Scientologists, they're all fucking perverted. There's all sorts of motherfuckers who just want to put their fucking penis everywhere, all everywhere. That's what Scientology does. It breeds that type of shit. And you guys are all accountable to that. I thanked you last time because I thought I only had one misdemeanor, but you're charging me 16 misdemeanors for standing up for the rape victims of Danny Masterson. 16 different misdemeanors for using a bullhorn. Yeah, I was going to bullhorn all sorts of motherfuckers because people think it's okay to just bullhorn. They think that bullhorning makes you all, that it's not okay to bullhorn. I have a right to bullhorn. Inciting violence. Some people think that inciting violence at protests is bad. I would agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Some people want to yell. I don't need to yell. Yeah. Some people don't want to stand up for the children. I went to get my property back. It's been over a year. They told me numerous times I could get my phones back after a year. Still didn't get my property back. No more Diddy shit. No more fucking Diddy shit, all right? Who's getting paid by Scientology? 86, the police, and the grand old party.
Next, we have Jonathan Foster.
Hello, Jonathan Foster. Hello, Chief. Good morning, Chief. Good morning, Mr. President, Dr. Southers, Madam Vice President, Commissioner Kalanche, Commissioner Fabian, Commissioner Sanchez Gordon, Inspector General, you, Executive Director Sibley, City Attorney, Carlos de la Guerra. If I said it wrong, I'll get it right next time. Executive Assistant Munoz and Executive Assistant Silva. I'm Jonathan Foster. And I've learned that if you come in with a hammer, all you do is hurt people. I thought I'd say good morning. But I do support the police 100%. I think it does 98% excellent service. It's got 2% that's gross. And this gross stuff covers the 40% of it sexual assault, 40% of DUI, and of course the murder. But it's the murder, it's passed by past commissions approved this murder, and now you have approved murder. And this was on a 4-1 decision. This is why I said that the commission needs to be 23 commissioners like a grand jury judge. Change that, please. Supporting means prosecuting badge tarnishers. That's what support means. I wanted to say something too in support. I know how come so many people let other people commit crime and then an officer has to basically execute somebody, has to feel bad about it. How come we aren't protecting the police officers from that? Yeah, that's one of the things I came down here. All right, let's go over this one.
Public, today is Tuesday, January 28, 2024, and January 28, 2024. And members of the public, today is Tuesday, January 9th, 2023, 2024. My apologies.
Yep. You don't know what year it is. You've done this twice. And so when we have police officers, they're in repetitious mode. Somebody dies. Okay. And I was being led in the Holy Ghost. That's why I found this. It shined a light for me. You see, and what happens when police are stuck in repetitious behavior, it becomes criminal law breaking. And then someone dies. This is called a oops, out of policy shooting, and it becomes a oopa, out of policy murder or homicide. Okay. And Rasha, you got money signs in your eyes. You were going to be a nurse, but you wanted to be a lawyer because it makes more money. And I got so much more to go over in 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Next, we have Gabriel.
Morning. My name is Gabriel Cabrera, and I'm a former LAPD police officer that served the city of LA for almost 15 years. This is the third time I speak in front of the Police Commission pertaining to my termination from the LAPD. The first topic I want to make crystal clear is that my statement and demonstration today is in no way perceived as anti-police. I was a police officer for 15 years, and I'm proud of that. Without the police, we have no law and order, no cities. I'm simply addressing a specific malfeasance that was committed against me during my termination from the LAPD. Second, last year, the Police Commission, you guys, initiated a complaint on my behalf with the Office of the Inspector General. And for that, I sincerely say thank you. Even though it's been over a year that this complaint was initiated, I have yet to be questioned or interviewed. Why is it taking so long? Commissioners, it's very simple. Before I appeared on my police trial board, then LAPD Chief Beck advised my police jury in writing to find me guilty of the complaint filed against me and terminate me before I appeared at my trial. This is an official LAPD document from the Office of the Chief proposing my termination. Since this was proposed before I appeared at my police trial, this violated my constitutional right of due process, which is covered under the 5th and 14th Amendments of the Constitution. Commissioners, as you know, the police, the LAPD, or the chief of police are not above the Constitution. No city edict, order, or proposal supersedes the U.S. Constitution. You, the Police Commission, as an independent entity, can circumvent this malfeasance and correct it by granting me justice and reinstating me as a police officer. A few years ago, the Police Commission reinstated another former LAPD police officer, Robert William Stewart, nearly 70 years after his death. If you did it for him, you can do it for me. Before I appeared at my police trial, I was informed by my union-appointed attorney at the time, Larry Hanna, that I would be terminated, but not because of the complaint, but because of my on-the-job injury disability. And that's exactly what happened. It's common knowledge within the LAPD and other departments that the LAPD has had an unofficial policy of jettisoning, getting rid of police officers that are hurt in the line of duty since the 1950s. And I am living proof that this unofficial policy still exists. So, after contracting the deadly disease meningitis from a man I detained while working patrol, I almost died. I survived with cognitive impairment. I was illegally terminated, and I received no pension or benefits from working patrol for almost 15 years. Does that seem fair? I am currently reaching out to the public via social media to contact you, the Police Commission, to do the right thing and grant me justice. I appeal to you. Thank you.
Next, we have Scott. Scott. Okay, we'll move on. Next, we have Megan. Megan. Jason Reedy.
All right, so today I'll start with the pinkest of pigs, Jim McDonald's February message to the LAPD, rank and file. In it, Jim says, each of you performs an essential role in protecting our communities from the reach of terror. But you are the terror you wax poetic about. The LAPD is an occupying army in the colony known as Los Angeles, and there isn't a group in Los Angeles that is responsible for more harm than the LAPD. Now, given that there will be a presentation on Black History Month today, during which we'll hear the LAPD quote unquote celebrate the stories of Black people, let us remember the Black men whose stories were cut short by your pigs. In 1962, the LAPD murdered Ronald Stokes for being a Muslim. Leonard Deadweiler was murdered in 1966 by the LAPD when he was driving his wife, who was in labor, to the hospital. William Leonard was babysitting for a family in 1968 when the LAPD murdered him. Black Panther Party members Steve Bartholomew, Robert Lawrence, and Thomas Lewis were murdered by the LAPD on August 5th, 1968. Jerry Lee Arney, a Vietnam veteran and Purple Heart recipient, was murdered by the LAPD in front of his family on June 20th, 1970. Your pigs preyed on Stephen Washington, a Black autistic man who was murdered in 2010 for walking on the sidewalk. Years later, in 2014, Ezell Ford was executed for the same thing. Grishario Mack, murdered by the LAPD in 2018 at the Crenshaw Mall, the same mall you were walking by when we confronted you. Takar Smith was murdered by LAPD in 2023 for being in mental crisis. These are only a few of the lives this department has stolen. Black revolutionaries, Black fathers, Black caregivers, Black Muslims, and the list goes on. And that type of Black history is what this department will continue to be known for. Now, I took a look at the department's January disciplinary penalties, and you doled out a slap on the wrist, aka an admonishment, for a pig who called a complainant a liar and told them to shut up. But as William outlined earlier, when Senior Lead Officer Edward Kellogg implied I was a murderer and that I beat my partner, LAPD determined that those remarks weren't improper and didn't rise to the level of misconduct. When Senior Lead Officer Elizabeth Southern said I was high on drugs and threatened to call DCFS on my family because I said, "Fuck you, pigs," the LAPD determined her remarks weren't discourteous and there was no misconduct. And I can't wait to see the department's findings on Denise Sanchez, Detective Denise Sanchez, should I note, who rear-ended my partner, the mother of this beautiful child, last June. Am I going to have to wait 4 months for that adjudication letter, or will you be sending that on time, Jim? Now, I fully recognize that these investigations are hogwash. They are tools used by the department and this commission to provide cover for the harassment, targeting, and harm brought onto my family. Everyone knows that this is happening, and there's decades of history showing that this isn't abnormal. It's part of the standard operating procedure. Now, I bring up these findings to show that the community, that pigs will lie in any circumstance, and what was happening 50 years ago is still happening today. Now, 3C, the funding of your license plate recognition equipment. In December, I was on the west side to celebrate a comrade's marriage, and lo and behold, after leaving the event, LAPD was posted up standing outside of their vehicle, right where we parked, surveilling me and my family. They even meme-mugged us as we changed my baby's diaper. And then when we got in our car to drive away, they pulled off dramatically like they were in a TV show. I mention this, which I know is a normal occurrence, because that's what ALPRs do. They surveil activists and organizers and any person that the state deems as a threat to their so-called legitimacy, their control, and status quo. Fuck that and fuck the LAPD.
Thank you.
Next, we have Grace.
We gather here not to engage in the theater of police accountability, but to name the violence that this commission was built to uphold. Every week, you sit here and feign oversight while rubber stamping LAPD's latest expansion of surveillance, its latest maneuver to extract more public funds, its latest attempt to tighten the state's grip on our lives. The so-called Sanctuary City Ordinance is a perfect example of LA's commitment to illusion over substance. Section 19.192, cited in the department report, claims to prohibit city employees from sharing citizenship or immigration status information with ICE or DHS. Yet it then cites a federal law, 8 United States Code Section 1373, that explicitly prevents local governments from restricting such communication. LAPD itself admits in its own FAQ that it is not, quote, not prohibited or restricted, end quote, from sending immigration status data to ICE and DHS. The ordinance literally cancels itself out. Additionally, LAPD collects and centralizes data, biometric scans, gang databases, school incident reports, social media monitoring at physical sites called fusion centers, feeding an interconnected system of repression that makes it seamless for ICE and DHS to target our people. The designation of LA as a sanctuary city is not a commitment to ending state violence. It is a strategic maneuver to maintain control. The city of LA claims to stand against the violence of ICE, yet it continues to facilitate mass deportations through its policing infrastructure. It is not a sanctuary, it is a smokescreen, and behind that smokescreen, LAPD continues to serve as a pipeline to deportation. And while LAPD justifies its surveillance expansion by invoking fear of crime, fear of the racialized other, it also expects the public to fund its PR stunts. How does a luxury relay race for police chiefs contribute to public safety? LAPD cries about budget constraints, yet there's always money for surveillance, always money for self-indulgence, always money to cement itself as an unaccountable force with unchecked power. But we know that is exactly what it was designed to do. So we refuse to entertain the lie that any of this is about protection. Protection for whom? Not for the Black, brown, and immigrant communities who remain under the boot of LAPD violence. Not for the working class whose resources are drained to fund the ever-expanding police state. Not for the people LAPD targets, displaces, and disappears under the guise of law and order. The real function of this commission is not to hold LAPD accountable, but to legitimize its violence. And we are not here to appeal to your conscience. We are here to expose what you already know, what you work so hard to obscure. The LAPD is not here to serve or protect. It is here to control, to surveil, to punish, and to banish. And no ordinance, no budget line, no bureaucratic maneuver will ever change that.
Next, we have Quinn.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to Jason's point earlier about the fact that you're going to do a Black History Month presentation later on, and just remind you that no matter how many presentations you give or how expensive the print job was for your get up outside, the police department and LAPD will always be what it began as, a slave patrol designed to surveil, murder, and control Black communities. This is continuing with your surveillance, control, and murder of Black and Brown communities as you continue to particularly do so in actively aiding ICE and all federal law and immigration enforcement agencies. You're having a presentation later today on your immigration enforcement policy and your sanctuary city policy, one that misleads the public and undermines the very values it claims to protect. Let's not be fooled by the posturing and hollow promises of those who say that sanctuary cities stand as a bastion for immigrant communities. You talked about doing know your rights and other bullshit, but time and again, we've already debunked and shown how the police have never been here to serve nor to protect. The disturbing reality of sanctuary cities is that all they have done, particularly in Los Angeles, is reify the infrastructure of surveillance and support the existence of the information sharing environment between law enforcement, ICE, and DHS. Ultimately, this reform does nothing but uphold the power and legitimacy of all law enforcement, including immigration enforcement agencies such as ICE, HSI, and DHS. The recent LA ordinance spoken about later on purportedly limits LAPD's ability to support immigration enforcement officers, including limiting information sharing or using city resources to aid ICE. In reality, 8 USC 1373A is a federal statute that prohibits local and state government agencies from limiting communication with DHS, functionally making it impossible to LAPD to withhold information regarding information on immigration or citizenship status of individuals. Under this ordinance, LAPD remains free to share information with ICE and with the DHS. In fact, LAPD is under no prohibition from sharing information in other elements as well, such as criminal records or fingerprint sharing. Whether it's through sophisticated surveillance tools funded by millions of taxpayer dollars, tools like Palantir, Vigilant Solutions, and LexisNexis, or through routine practices like fingerprinting and your newly unveiled automatic license plate readers, LAPD continues to provide ICE with crucial information that directly aids in the deportation of individuals, ultimately making any claim from your presentation today prematurely moot. Your AOPRs in particular, we've already talked about. The technology LAPD uses has language that explicitly states that ALPRs are used by LAPD to search for, hunt, and track and surveil those without documentation status, or those it deems seditious, or those it deems criminal. Moreover, the LAPD's involvement in multi-agency task forces, such as the Organized Retail Crime Task Force or the Joint Terrorism Task Force, are always used by ICE, LAPD, and other federal agencies through fusion centers in order to hunt, surveil, and track Black and Brown communities, as you always have done.
Next, we have Hamid Khan.
As some of the other folks from Stop LAPD Spying Coalition have stated, I think the question really comes down to, for Lou Calanche and Fabian Garcia, that what about the suspicious activity reporting program? What about iWatch? And the reason I bring this up is that they can talk about all the guardrails, they can talk about that we're not going to share information. Those programs are dependent on information sharing. That's the basic essence of that program. That when a secret file is opened, a suspicious activity reporting file is opened, it's been going on since 2007. And then when you see something, say something, the iWatch program since 2009, it is automatically, it's vetted by the Major Crimes Division, but then it's sent to the Fusion Center. That is the requirement of the program. So if this is the case, then what is the program there for? What is it there for? Because it is not about that we're not picking up the phone, we're not sending data over the computer. The program solely exists because of information sharing. What happens to the fingerprints when somebody is pulled in? Where do the fingerprints go? The fingerprints are immediately transmitted to the federal government, to the FBI, and information is floated all around. What about flock safety license plate readers, which have on their own portal that people can have information on immigration violators? So what you're doing is this whole bullshit about this, and I know LAPD is going to be even presenting that document today, there are such inherent contradiction, both in practice and even what is stated, the intent is as well. So unless we finish the tools, the very source of those harm, that unless we shut down suspicious activity reporting program, unless we shut down the I watch, see something, say something program, this is just there. You can claim all the guardrails. You can claim all the that we're not going to share information. All sanctuary city or not. That is the nature of the program. So this is where you have to stop. And what about all of these databases that are both sharing with ICE and DHS, and we've been naming them out: Palantir, Peregrine, LexisNexis, RM Record Management System, Evidence.com, Axon Fleet, DICVSs, Motorola license plate readers, the real-time crime centers, Axon body-worn video cameras, CCTVs and wireless camera networks, Genetec software, LifeScan and Evolution, Celebrite, and more contracts and grants. These are all systems in place in the LAPD that are directly connected with information sharing to ICE, to DHS, to the whole federal government. And the Fusion Center. John McMahon, who's your deputy chief, he has lied several times. He lied to us when we confronted them at the Central Station about Operation Laser and the Chronic Friender program. And they had their own internal fusion center, unless it was exposed. Then in 2022, he lied again about, that license plate readers not sharing programs with DHS and all of that. So you have to take action, or you can just sit there.
Next, we have Adam.
Good morning. I was just looking at a press release from January 16th, 2025, which was this year, from the DOJ and the LA County, and it says federal and local law enforcement officials formed task force to combat crimes related to Los Angeles area wildfires. And from the release, it says the Joint Regional Fire Crimes Task Force includes representatives of the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, the ATF, Homeland Security Investigations, the LA County District Attorney's Office, LA City Attorney's Office, the LAPD, and the LA Sheriff's Department. So this task force was started a month after LA City Council passed their so-called sanctuary ordinance that purports to stop city departments from sharing info, including with federal entities like ICE. Anyway, one of those entities listed on this newly formed task force a month after the sanctuary ordinance passed is Homeland Security Investigations. When you go to the website to check out Homeland and Security Investigations, you'll see that, of course, this is housed within ICE. So aside from the fact the LAPD technology like ALPRs feed data directly to the federal government that flies directly in the face of this veneer of safety that is LA's so-called sanctuary ordinance, aside from the fact that fingerprints of people arrested by LAPD are fed to the federal government, aside from the fact that programs like suspicious activity reporting that were born in a post-9/11 context that not only expanded the reach of the federal government to vulnerabilized and disparate criminalized communities, but created ICE, created the Department of Homeland Security. So as politicians pat themselves on the back around passing a sanctuary ordinance, as the LAPD sits here today with the feigned oversight of this body, the LAPD still not only feeds personal data of immigrant communities to ICE, but continue to grasp at resources and further entrench into communities that in this case are recovering from devastating wildfires that weren't caused by immigrants, weren't caused by the boogeyman of national security threats, but were caused by the environmental degradation and climate change, by failing privatized infrastructure and private real estate, which I guess makes sense as these are the things that LAPD exists to defend. This Saturday, March 1st, marks 10 years since I brought my child home from the hospital. Get a lot of memories popping up on my photos. It also, to Grace's point about the falsehood of this oversight body, marks the murder of Cameroonian immigrant Charlie Africa Kunang at 6th and San Pedro in Skid Row. This black houseless man, an immigrant, was murdered in his tent, was criminalized in death by this department, while his murderer, Officer Frank Martinez, was promoted into LAPD's senior lead officer program, where he still works downtown in Skid Row, targeting and criminalizing people like Charlie, while you all sit here giving more resources and legitimacy to an institution born in slave catching.
Thank you. That will be the end of the public comment period. We now go on to agenda item number 3, consent agenda items. We have items 3A through M today. I'm going to hold 3C.
I am closing out from the audio section of that.
because they are done with public comment. That sucks that we didn't get called on the phone more. But I'm glad that those were there, got to say their piece. Yeah, pretty good. I'm glad. Hopefully it'll continue to be no drama. Now that they're just live streaming. I'm surprised they didn't ask for them to be pulled. Yep, I'm glad. I'm going to close out of that and maybe go to audits. Oh, let's see.
Love you, my God, like your fam, like your fam. I love you, like seriously. Like a... Oh, yeah, I want to say something to. Shanna.
I made sure.
Shanna, I just want to say something real quick. Don't ever worry if like your voice is shaking. It doesn't matter to say it, and none of that matters. That was so impactful. Like I had to say it again. I'm sorry not to go over and over again, but this is what they need to hear. They need to hear from the victims that have been there since childhood. What you said like literally made me cry like on the spot because I don't, like, and they needed to hear it. So I don't care if it was like you're low or whatever. It doesn't matter. What you said hit them hard. I guarantee it. I think now I have hope that something's going to happen now, because that's what they need. That's why I've been bugging for the victims need to be heard. Yes, yes. I'm going to give you a hug. I was like,
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you for being there too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now we're going to keep speaking up for you guys. Yeah. It's not going to stop. I'm going to try to get City Hall though. All right. Bye, guys. Okay. We're going to try to get over to City Hall. I want to see if there's anything going on over there. Hi.
Okay, you guys, well, I'm glad that it went the way that it did. I'm going to log off for lunch. Catch up with whomever's live you want to catch up with, other audit, DOA, Serge, Michael. Who was in the sun hat? I think it was Serge. Because Michael kept going to sit next to him. I don't know for sure, but I think it was Serge. But anyways, logging off. That went a hell of a lot better than I was worried about. I just wish it wasn't Serge. No, then I don't know who it was. Okay, ciao, ciao.